Hello Factorio people, welcome back to the broadcasts from Nauvis. You find me here on a very lazy Saturday evening. Look at me in my chair. Dead. Dead to the world. How's the base? Don't ask. The more time passes, the less happy I am with it. I really have overcomplicated this, haven't I, folks? Really have gone unnecessarily overboard. Look at this, there's a bloody bootstrap base, there's a starter base, there's a main bus base. Good lord. Anyway, more on that later. Oil is coming in, and there's some oil modules here. Just your simple advanced oil cracking ratios, some lubricant, just to be sure. And some light oil. I think I find out later that the light oil is not... I thought if I put a pump here that it would prioritise the pump going into these tanks, but it doesn't. You get some overflow goes into these anyway, so I fixed that later. So the oil goes in, the green circuits are there. Turn the music up. I turn the music up in the game when I'm recording, but I also turn the music up in OBS. I think maybe it's a bit loud. Not that there's a lot of noise anyway. Yes! Let's move on slightly, shall we? So the oil is in. The oil makes plastic. I tweaked this slightly, a few more pumps, a few more circuit conditions to make sure that I was getting things in the right order, in the order that I wanted. And then I had to make a plastic buffer, didn't I? Because because I couldn't test it without actually using some petroleum, so I made a plastic buffer, and then later down the line this will cause me problems when I realise that the plastic is not flowing onto the belt properly. Oh dear. And I tore down the bootstrap base because I was sick of it. I was sick of it. I never go over there anymore. Most of what I need to use to build is in the starter base, which the robots bring over for me anyway. So I went over there and made the effort to tear it down. And I mostly succeeded in that. There's some bricks and some stone furnaces and various things over there that I cannot be bothered to bring back, but I'm sure when I tidy this all up later, everything will be fine and dandy. This has made me realise that I could possibly do with a few more robust blueprints for the early game. I did this bootstrap base, and I was very, very happy with it when I first did it. I was very happy with it. But it's just not... It's half a job, isn't it? Like, it's not big enough... It's not small enough to just plop down by hand. But it's also not big enough to actually get you anywhere that you need. It's the middle ground. And I keep umming and ahhing about what I want to do about that. And I had a couple of thoughts. First thought is that obviously the expansion is drawing ever closer. With every breath we take, that expansion is getting closer. And as is Silksong as well, don't forget about that. The second is that I never really do the same playthrough twice in a row. Everything's always a bit different. Which is always going to mean that there's always a recipe, there's always a mod, there's always something that is not really going to be encapsulated within any sort of vanilla blueprint book that I can do. Even this, I'm using my old masterclass blueprints. And as I've said many times before, they don't really work because they're designed around putting effect transmission beacons in, which won't do a lot with this because we're going to use the space exploration ones. And a couple of the designs are very messy, they're not fully tested. I think mostly what is happening is that I've been watching a lot of Michael Hendricks recently, because that guy is a dude. The guy is an absolute dude. And he mostly just plays vanilla. And he'll do weird challenges with the rule set of vanilla, and he'll add a mod that makes things different but still vanilla, you know, like 100% Biter Revolution at the beginning of the game, or you can only get resources from killing biters, or things like that, which still don't change the vanilla recipes and things. So he's got a lot of blueprints, and he's very good at ratios and knowing how much of everything he needs, and whereas, because when I play Factorio, I play a different combination of mods every single time. That's where the interest to me lies, at least. So my blueprints never really go beyond the playthrough that I am in. You know, I've got my Crustorio 2 reverse Mega Base blueprints here from when I was doing that series. And I've got a blueprint book here for Factorio Extended when I was playing with the Factorio Extended mod. Which adds like 3 extra tiers of assembly machine and module and beacon and belt to everything, and like this is what I decided was going to be one grid section. You know? Crustorio transport drones. Actually, a lot of these are pretty irrelevant. I went for a grid section that was that big in Crustorio transport drones. You know, I've done Crustorio with transport drones, without transport drones. I've done Crustorio on its own. I've done it with, can't remember, Factorissimo. You know. So anyway, my point is that no, I am playing slowly, and I don't want to keep making excuses about playing slowly. It's not about playing slowly. I think it's playing badly. I think it's playing inefficiently. I think I've realised that I'm playing inefficiently, which is the biggest crime of all. Anyway, those are my thoughts on that. Plastic is in the base. There's a stone thing here which I'm going to use to get stone and bricks into the base. I tear this down. And the beginning of the end of the starter base. But we're still a little way away from that, folks, I have to say. Let's jump forward in time, shall we? So at least when you have a fully roboportized city block system, you can just plop the blueprints that you have down. So thankfully I do have some blueprints, at least. I have a non-zero number of blueprints. Sulfur, sulfuric acid, red science, green science, advanced circuits, blue science. You know, we can just plop these down. And the robots can do the work. Thankfully. This also does highlight the limitation of the bus base, which is that I am spending quite a lot of resources to the tune of 11,000 red belts here, moving stuff down the bus. So you've got you either have a bus base or you have a train base, right? Those are your two main answers, in my opinion. And I did talk about this before in one of the earlier episodes when I was talking about the value proposition of using belts versus using trains. How far away do things need to be before you start thinking about using trains? And that is the extreme limitation of the bus base, is that I could have just had this iron go straight into another station, and then that iron goes somewhere with the copper, which makes the green circuits, and the green circuits goes in a train, which then, you know, only needs to go... Because currently these green circuits, all of these belts, you know, 500 red belts don't do anything except bring the green circuits to here, which needs 0.05 of a red belt to make the inserters to make the green signs. you know? And then down here, a third of a belt of green circuits to make the red circuits. This is the big downside to the bus space, is that all of this is frankly useless. So not only is it 703 red belts, each one of which is 11 iron plates, so that's 700, 803? 813? Something like that. 100 iron plates just for this. You've also got to remember that each section of belt can hold 8 items. So that also means that there's a humongous buffer of green circuits on the bus. Also. And obviously the counterpoint to that is that you've got to move your resources around somehow, whether you use belts or you use trains or you use logistics spots. You know, you've got to move there's not a non-zero cost way of... Sorry, there's not a zero cost way of moving these things around. The limitation of the trains, of course, is that if you say, well, I want all my stations to be 4-1 stations, because obviously it's very difficult to mix train sizes. I suppose it is. Like maybe you could say, oh, your smelting was 4-1, but every individual train, you know, the rest of your trains were in very small grid sections. You know, I could do a design where, like, just the rails go across like this, and each grid section is very small with rails. Like, that is possible, but that is still, you know, an overhead of rails. Then you could do the same thing and say, oh, I've spent... Because the steel here is your bottleneck, right? Your one plate of steel is not cheap. It is 5 iron plates. You could say, oh, I've spent 10,000 iron ore just to make sure I've got a rail system to move stuff around. Ah, I could have spent that on belts, you know. So there's two sides. There's two sides to it. There's pros and cons, basically. And I think ultimately that is why the game is so good and it's so interesting, and that's also why it doesn't matter which YouTube creator you watch, they're always going to have a different viewpoint and a different approach to these things, because there isn't an easy answer. You know, there isn't an easy answer. So let's move on, shall we, from that brief interlude about my thoughts on the metagame of Factorio, and let's move on. Let's move on. So yes, here's me casually putting down Purple Science 25 hours into a save file. Just very normal. I went out and killed some more biters as well, just in this southern area, and I think I do it again later with this. The Defender capsule, Poison capsule, I've got lasers in my roboports as well, in my power armor now. I can just swap them out and put the roboports in if I need them. It's working quite well. Base defense is frankly no longer an issue, really. The next big sea change, the next big epoch, will be not ever going out at all and using artillery. And then we will have to build a wall around the base so that we can just stop the biters that we aggro from that doing too much damage. But for the most part, for the most part, it's fine, I think. So yes, Purple Science is in. Nuclear power is being researched. Power is often becoming an issue, mostly because, ironically, the robots have to travel so far over here to get the thousands of belts that I'm after that they spend a lot of time charging. Yeah, so you can see... Not accumulators, turn the accumulators off. No, turn them off. Radars use a lot. It's possible I have too many radars down, but roboports are your big spikes here. It's possible I have too many radars. It's possible that this was a mistake, that they overlap too much. How many radars do I have? Only 130, what are you talking about? It's fine. I did think about installing a mod that made the radars stronger, more, so that I wouldn't have to worry about, you know, because these are quite close. If you look in the top right hand corner there, you can see the mini-map that shows you how much coverage one radar has, and one radar will cover a lot. It might make more sense to have this blueprint be bigger, have this be 4 copies in a row, with the radar only in one of them. But, you know, that, I suppose if you snapped it to the grid in the same way that these are snapped to the grid, they're never going to overlap anyway. I might do that. I might make that change and just demolish all the radars and then put all the radars back in again. Put in a fraction of the radars back in again. But also it is nice to have good radar coverage. So again, pros and cons. Pros and cons. Nuclear power is researched. Thinking about getting nuclear power sorted. There's a nice little uranium patch here that I can use. Sulfuric acid is not too far away. I can just get that sorted. So let's go a bit further in time and see what happens next. Why I made this save file in the middle of nowhere is anyone's guess. I suppose maybe I wanted to show off the personal laser defences and poison capsule combo, because, you know, the personal laser defences are quite good, considering how strong they are and how much battery they use. It's quite good. But without being in a vehicle or something, you still do need a few follower robots just to make sure that you're not, you know, the lasers aren't 100% there. And the other thing you can do is with the follower robots, which I've neglected to mention up until this time in the follower robots are good actually show. Oh no! You can spin them around yourself. You walk and then suddenly change direction, you can yeet them right into a crowd like that. How good is that? So yeah, I think these are still just medium worms, to be honest with you. Like, we're not really doing anything crazy over here. But if you're curious, between 1 energy shield, 4 personal laser defences, some poison capsules and some defender capsules, you can make a pretty good go of it. I took the science out of the quote-unquote starter base because it was a big drain on resources in the starter base. I wanted this really to just transition in being a glorified mall until we get logistics sorted, because then when logistics happens, there'll be another big epoch, but for the production side of things rather than the military side of things. You see here, Purple Science is up and running. So really, most of the iron needs to go into making red belts for the aforementioned reasons about the bus using a lot of iron, using a lot of belts. So having 2 separate bases both making science was nice. It was, while it was sustainable, it was nice. But once the bus belt buffer ran out and everything was, you know, it was finally obvious that 2 belts of iron and 2 belts of copper was not also going to make all of that science plus all of these belts, plus the solar panels. I unfortunately had to get rid of it. Really over-engineered these pillboxes. These have never shot once in their life. I'm so bad at biters, with biters on. I really am quite bad at it. Alright, let's go forward a bit further in time, shall we, and see what else happens. So yes, my plan was to get yellow science up and running ASAP, because I want yellow science so I can get logistics here, so that I can put my masterclass logistics hub blueprint down, and then everything will be good. This will make everything we need, for the most part, minus any mod specific items. So these beacons, Mark 1 beacons, are there. The recipe might not be the same. The Mark 1 beacons vanilla and the beacons in vanilla and the Mark 1 beacons in the space exploration mod might not be the same, I don't know. But for the most part it will make basically everything that this base is making now. So this base will just be able to go after that. It will put a large strain on this, but this is not really working at anywhere near full capacity. What is working at near full capacity though, as I soon find out, is the power is becoming an issue. Overnight, the solar panels go off, the accumulators discharge, and they're not really cutting it. And this base is not making solar panels fast enough to expand in the way I wanted, so I thought rather than carry on with low power, maybe we could get nuclear power sorted. I sort of incepted myself with the idea of trying to squeeze a nuclear power plant design into one of these grid sections. I thought, oh, that'll be cool, that'll be cool. So I gave that a go. But first, obviously, we need uranium for that, so let's get that sorted. So yes, unfortunately the yellow science had to wait while I got nuclear power up and running. Nuclear power is quite strong, but it does require a bit of investment. But once you've done it, it's quite good. A 4 nuclear reactor setup will generate 480 megawatts, if I remember the numbers correctly. Whereas one of my city blocks full of solar panels is 97 megawatts. So I wonder what the actual ratio is of resource to... Because obviously the solar panels and the accumulators, you only build them once. They are fairly cheap. And the same goes for your steam turbines, your heat exchangers and your heat pipes. But the nuclear reactors themselves are very pricey. 500 steel, 1,000 iron plates, 500 concrete. Why does that say 1,000 iron plates? Where are those 1,000 iron plates? They're not in the steel, because 5,000 iron plate... 500 steel plates would in fact be 2,500 iron. So where is that 1,000 iron coming from? I guess it's the circuits. The advanced circuits have green circuits which have iron. I guess it's that number. That total raw bit is a bit squiffy sometimes, isn't it? I wish it would just pick and choose. Steel is not a raw resource, in my opinion. It should just show me the number of iron plates that uses. Or should it? I don't know. Maybe there's a good reason for that. I'm not sure. Anyway, enough about that. So yes, I'm building some just a simple, quick, nasty build for building the nuclear stuff, and some chests here that fill up with enough stuff to handcraft the nuclear power plants, and some concrete happens here because I am very much in spaghetti mode because I want to get this sorted as quickly as I can, because I'm well aware that I'm 25 hours deep into this game and I am still not really getting anywhere. I'm having fun though, don't get me wrong, I am having fun. So yes, I abandoned the plan for yellow science despite already putting the robot frames there. This is horrible, isn't it, this build? I don't know what I was thinking with this. What is this lubricant doing? Good lord. Anyway, it works. It works. Can't say fairer than that. So we mine some uranium. Uranium fuel cells are very cheap. You only need 1 uranium to make 10 of them. And even 10 centrifuges will get you 1 uranium every, like, 3 minutes on average, over a long enough time period. And I'm researching Cova X, but I'm not going to worry about Cova X for a little while, just because basically I just need 1 decent nuclear power plant design, and I can put that down once or twice, and this will easily produce enough uranium-235 to get that up and running. And that should solve the power problems for a decent amount of time, providing I build it in such a way that it doesn't waste too many resources. Doesn't waste too many resources. Doesn't waste too... Alright, it's not perfect, okay. But I'm allowed to be proud of this. 4 nuclear power plants will need 48 heat exchangers, roughly, which produce enough steam to run 84 turbines and need 4 pumps worth of water. The steam goes into storage tanks, which then don't unload until the accumulators are discharging. I've put the circuit condition on accumulators on 50%, which maybe that's too high. And the inserters won't load fuel cells into the power plants until there is less than, what did I say? 25,000 steam, which might in fact be too low, given that the entire system can hold, like, what, 8 times 25? 800,000 steam. So maybe that's too low. And also I don't realise until later that this doesn't stop it from inserting more than 1. This is always the problem, is that you do all of these things to try and stop using unnecessary uranium fuel cells. And then the hardest bit is just making it so that the inserter doesn't go, oh, I'm allowed to work now, and just bloody yeeting in 500 fuel cells in the time between the rules. Tell it to stop working again. And I'm not really sure a sensible way around that beyond just using a very slow inserter and telling it has a stack size of 1, and then, but it's still going to insert 2 or 3 before, you know, the steam builds back up again, or the accumulator. Anyway, it is what it is. It's better than just having the nuclear power plant running at full blast the whole time, in my opinion. This is better than that. And yeah, it fits nice and neatly into one grid section. And here's the blueprint. And here's the blueprint. There it is. And then this is the whole reason we have the blueprint on water mod installed, is so that when we want to put this down again, you can see there the water pumps are red because it's saying I can't build this because it's not on water. Whereas if you make the blueprint water placeable, whoops, make the blueprint water, hello? This worked before. This definitely worked before. What is happening? Oh no! My lovely perfect video has been ruined by user error. What? Oh, I don't know. That definitely worked before. I'm sorry, folks. I can't explain what's happening there. Make blueprint water placeable. I thought that's all you did, was you just click this button. Anyway, well, it doesn't matter. I suppose it doesn't matter. The point is that currently you would have to... Whoops, you would have to do this. How on earth have I aligned this? There we go, sorry. There's a bloody tree in the way! You'd have to put this down once, wait for these water tiles to come down, and then put it down again. I could have sworn that did what I wanted before when I was testing this. I'm so confused. Anyway, I'll have to work out what's going on with that, or maybe just uninstall the mod. Maybe the mod is not doing what I want after all. Of course, the problem with that is that I'd have to put the blueprint down once, as I was saying. Yeah, put the blueprint down once, wait for those water tiles to be built, and then plop the blueprint down again, or at least put the water pumps down. But I know what will happen is I'll build it, and then 2 hours later I'll be like, why am I still having power problems? Oh yeah, I forgot to build the water pumps, didn't I? So yes, the accumulator is discharging. I don't think currently, without researching, the accumulators go under 50%, so this isn't going to do anything for now, but it will. It will. So we're in a good spot. We're in a good spot. We got purple science done. Yellow science isn't too far away. We just need low density structures, which is fine. And what's the other thing we need? Purple circuits, low density structures. Oh, robot frames. We have those already. Also, I keep saying purple circuits, which really shows how long I've been playing Factorio. Because those sprites used to be more purple than this. And some people were still calling them blue circuits, even though they were definitely not this blue at the time. So yellow science isn't too far away, which means the logistics mall isn't too far away, which means this being torn down in its entirety isn't too far away. Which means we can think about properly making sure that we are getting a good base going. Once low density structures come in, I'm obviously concerned about the copper and the steel supply, but I do have some plans in my mind about basically just copying this and this other bit here like this, and just like plopping that down, you know, in the same row, and just injecting more copper and steel into the base. I think that would be quite cool. Maybe from over here, or this one even, because I've cleared the biters out from up here and I know that this is all water, so you know, something like that. And we can take it from there. I mean, I know there's this one right here. Maybe that one's more sensible. Blueprint with train station cannot be flipped. Why don't you... I was going to say something. I try not to be rude in these videos because it's Factorio, you know, like it's literally a game that anyone can play, and I try to make my videos generally, as a rule, entertaining for all ages and not just relying on crude humour, but sometimes I have a problem thinking of non-rude things on the fly. Sorry, that was an unnecessary tangent. Don't be rude, kids. Don't be rude. It doesn't serve any purpose at all. Yeah, I can maybe just put copper smelting here, in fact, and inject 4 more lanes of copper into the bus. Maybe I'll put it here. Just inject 4 more lanes of copper into the bus at this point, where there's a bit of space here. Because as soon as we start making purple, blue circuits, processing units in earnest, this is going to dry up big time. This, at full pelt, is using 2.7 belts of copper. And another downside to the bus system is that you kind of hide those things. If I'm using 2.7 belts of copper, really, I should not have 4 belts going down. I should be stopping 3 of these 4 belts at this point, because only 1.3 belts of copper is carrying on, and I'm kind of like, look at this, pulling off of it here, 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 and then maybe I decide I'm going to balance it, you know? So really this needs to be standalone, this bit of the build, and the copper just needs to stop. This copper ore from this should really just be serving this. And this copper ore here I should probably be smelting separately and injecting it into the bus. But that's a little bit further down the line, and really when we start doing it like that, I want to be using electric furnaces when I start doing those kinds of things, because then otherwise I have to think about where the coal's coming from. The only reason I've done this is because there was such a huge coal patch here. Anyway, I kind of waffled on a lot. So please, if any of that was interesting to you, Factorio theory, Factorio theory crafting, please let me know with a like or a comment. And if you want to see more Factorio, be sure to subscribe. Other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.